to the Gab Talks by the Independent Press Award. I'm your hostess, Gabby Olzak. To participate in the 2025 Book Award competitions, please visit independentpressaward.com and newyorkcitybigbbookaward.com. On this episode of the Gab Talks, we're meeting with Dr. Lynsey Victoria, an emergency veterinarian. Her most recent children's book, Goodbye for Now, grapples with the sensitive subjects of pet euthanasia. It's the winner of the 2025 Independent Press Award in the Picture Books All Ages Death and Dying category. Lynsey has a decade of experience as a veterinarian. She graduated from Wagner College on Staten Island with a BS in biology and psychology. She pursued her dream to become a veterinarian in 2014. After her time at Ross University and clinical year at LSU, she traveled to Alaska and participated in the aid of canine racers in the Willow 300. She's focused on emergency surgery, physical rehabilitation, and exotic animal medicine. Her debut children's book, Good Morning Big Apple, earned a distinguished favorite in the 2024 New York City Big Book Award. The book is meant to inspire and empower women to breathe and savor each moment with their new babies during the challenging postpartum period. Lynsey reminds us all to be present and to be purposeful. She joins us today from New Jersey, where she resides with her daughter and inspiration, Gracelyn. Congratulations, Lynsey, and welcome to the Gab Talks.
Thank you so much, Gabby.
I love the book. Let's tell people a little bit more about you. You're a veterinarian, single mom, and now an award-winning author. So Lynsey, share your journey that brought you to this point and what motivated you to write Goodbye for Now. And if you can just throw in how your experience as a veterinarian helps influence the narrative to your book.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in emergency for just about 11 years now. I'll be the medical director of a brand new hospital in October, so I'm super excited.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a big deal. Congratulations.
Thank you. But the inspiration, honestly, was all of the thank yous I received from how empathetic and just the ease of a very difficult situation. So whenever I unfortunately met a family that I had to deliver very sad or disappointing news, they always said I made it a little bit easier for them and their family, which was inspiring in itself. I waited about 3 years to really put this together. I didn't really know where I wanted to start, and it finally all came together in a night, to be completely honest. But, this is something that I do every day.
You were probably writing it in your head. You even realized it. Lynsey, hold up the book. I want everyone to.
Yeah.
The illustrations are really beautiful. Hold it up.
Oh, I love the illustrations.
Beautiful. They're gorgeous. So Goodbye for Now. It delicately, as you said, was pet euthanasia. You detail the bonds between a child, whose name is Little Gray, and her German Shepherd, Teddy. Tell us the story about Gray and Teddy. And I know day to day you approach the subject of euthanasia, but how it's a very challenging subject. How did you make it so accessible and comforting for young readers?
Yeah, absolutely. So Little Gray is my daughter. So her middle name is Gray, Gracelyn Gray. So she is the main character of the book. Teddy is actually a huge inspiration for me as well, because a very good friend of mine, a Brooklyn canine cop who I've known since I was a technician before vet school, it was one of his dogs that passed away. So one of the canine cops. So he absolutely inspired the story. His real name is Timoshenko, but just to make it a little bit easier for kids, I named him Teddy.
So, Lynsey, Goodbye for Now delicately explores pet euthanasia, and you really beautifully detail the bonds between Little Gray and her German Shepherd, Teddy.
Yes.
Tell us the story of Gray and Teddy, and how did you approach this challenging subject and make it so accessible for young readers?
Yeah, absolutely. So Little Gray is an inspiration for my daughter because her middle name is Gray. She's Little Gracelyn Gray. And then Teddy is an inspiration from a fallen canine officer, one who worked very closely with a friend in Brooklyn. So his real name is Timoshenko, But just to make it a little bit easier for kids, we named him Teddy.
Sure.
Um, Now, their story in the beginning of the book. So half of the book is extremely light, and then the other half goes into a little bit more detail to explain like the hospital portion or when you come
Mhm.
to see me. So at the beginning of the book, Teddy and Gray use their imagination. So they go on every adventure imaginable. They'll go, outside and play in the rain and the puddles. They'll go to space and have a whole adventure there as well. And I could show you guys a few of the pages, some of my
Please.
favorites. So let's see.
It's a really scary subject, and I love the way you first of all, the illustrations are beautiful, and we'll get to that. But I love the way you talk about all these things that really interest children, space, and just show us those pictures again.
Yeah, absolutely. This one is adorable too. It goes through a little set that my daughter has in her room. So one of the
Many little
little
girls do. I love it. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So little Gray thinks she's, this little veterinarian or a practicing veterinarian. So she tries to, diagnose him every day and help him and make sure that he's healthy. And then she
Aw.
realizes there's actually something that may be wrong. So she asks her mom to take him to the veterinarian. And what I find that's fun that not a lot of people know is I love Grey's Anatomy. So a lot of the like names and pictures in the book are inspired from that show.
Oh gosh, I have to relook at it now.
Yeah.
I love Grey's Anatomy too. I didn't even realize that. That's so
Yeah.
funny.
So the hospital is like a front of Grey's Anatomy. And then Teddy is from Grey's Anatomy too, even though,
Teddy. Yeah.
she's a cardiac surgeon.
Yeah, yeah, that's great.
And then,
That's great.
as we go, yeah, go ahead.
No, you
I was just going to say, as we go towards the back of the book, when they get to the hospital, that gives like the reader a better idea of, okay, what to expect when we walk
mm,
through the door. And that main
serious stuff.
character, exactly. That main character, or the veterinarian, is played by one of my best friends who's a doctor in South Jersey. So Janine was super excited to be a part of the book.
Yeah. So also you show how Gray and her family went through all of these stages of grief, which we do with people, but pets become a real part of our family and children grow very attached as we all do. And I understand, Lynsey, that you actually consulted with a licensed health counselor. Why was that so important to you as an author and a veterinarian?
Yeah, I just feel like, yes, I have the credibility as a veterinarian, but I'm also reaching a very sensitive subject for children, and I wanted to make sure that everything I wrote was most appropriate for them and therefore to help them moving forward. So Dr. Brittany was amazing in helping me just make sure that everything was succinct for kids and the stages of grief
Yes,
all looked,
appropriate.
appropriate.
Hmm. There are so many joys to having a pet, and euthanasia can be a very sad reality. So, Lynsey, as a veterinarian and a mom, how can children and their families navigate their way to a healing heart when they lose a pet?
Yeah, so in the back of the book, a great suggestion from a friend was, why don't you put suggestions for families at home? What to
Mhm.
do
I love
to memorialize. So oftentimes, if a family receives ashes, typically I'll say, why don't you plant a tree and put the ashes with that tree or that
that.
flower bed, and that way they grow back every year, or it's a beautiful remembrance of them. I always encourage families to take the collar with them, and that way they have a nice remembrance of their pet as
Mm.
well. But there's other, subjects like just having pictures made or ornaments during the holidays, just things to do as a family to just know that they're forever with us.
It's wonderful. And the book really is such a lovely tool, if you will, to use for families that are, even families that are not going through this, because eventually it
Yeah,
will happen. It's a great preparation. What are
thank
the
you.
various themes that you think, Lynsey, that you hope will inspire discussion? We have, grief and loss, cherishing time. What are the most important ones that you feel the book wants to talk about?
Yeah, I just hope, honestly, it helps to heal, in all honesty.
Yeah,
I want it to heal a broken heart. And I know that takes a lot of time, but I want them to use it as a reference so that they don't feel alone during this time period. There's a
yeah.
lot of larger hospitals that offer grief counseling that is incredible. And I think it's such a great resource for them because they come and see me and they only have met me for the first time. It's
Yeah.
not like I'm their family vet and they've grown up with me.
Right.
So,
That's true. We forget about that. Yeah, you're
yeah.
like maybe a couple of times a year here and there. Yeah.
Exactly. So I always offer these families to call me. I know it's very hard, but even if they just have to vent or go through the case again to say, I feel like I know what happened, but I just want to go through it one more time because it happens so quickly for some families and it can be extremely upsetting.
Have you received those calls from parents and families?
I've only received a few calls. I will
Yeah.
receive a lot of thank you cards, which is always
That's
amazing. Yeah.
definitely. So, Lynsey, the book is available in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. That's really incredible. What prompted you
So
to offer a bilingual version?
yeah, I haven't printed the Portuguese yet, but I do have it in my computer drive, so it's ready to go.
Okay,
But you know what? I see maybe 40% of families that are Spanish speaking primarily, and I just thought it would be
got
a
you.
really nice, thing to offer.
What has the feedback been so far for Goodbye for Now?
Yeah, so I've sent it to over 80 clinics across the country. It's also in Guam with a great friend of mine who's working there as well.
That's
And
awesome.
everyone says they absolutely love it. The feedback has been it not only helped my child, but it also really helped me get through, as an adult, which was
Sure.
incredible to hear.
That's a pretty huge leap for a children's book to say that it affected and helps an adult. That's incredible.
I know
Congratulations.
that was wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So, it's a collaborative process. You're an author,
Yep.
you self-published the book, and you
Yeah.
partnered with illustrator Valeria Cornice for Goodbye for Now, and also
Yes.
for your
Mhm.
debut book, Good Morning Big Apple, which I absolutely loved. As a New
Thank
Yorker, it
you.
really
Thanks.
How did you discover each other, and what was the process like?
Yeah. So, obviously I'm a veterinarian. Being an author is very different. So
Yeah,
I was obviously looking online and seeing what is the best route to find an illustrator. And,
mhm.
a lot of resources said go on Fiverr. So I did that first to check through different illustrations. And then one great resource said, why don't you look on Instagram? And that's where I found her. Because she's all the
Instagram.
way, yeah, I
Much.
know. She's all the way in Dubai. So in order to coordinate,
Wow.
yeah, exactly. When I'm waking up, she's going to sleep and vice versa. So,
That's so an
um,
international illustrator. That's really special.
it really is, and she's been incredible. I love her illustrations. She brought all of my story to life. I sent her all the ideas that I had for each page and sent her a few pictures for inspiration, but she just hit out of the park.
Wow. So that's how you did it. So you sent her the text and then she came up with the inspiration.
Yeah,
What a collaboration because they just seamlessly blend together and
they
the
really
story
do.
does come alive. I love it.
Mhm.
And I like that you did it for your debut book also, which we're going to get to later. But first I want to talk about Gracelyn.
Yeah,
Your daughter
absolutely.
has been a huge source of inspiration, and I
Mhm.
understand she fancies herself a superhero, and why not?
Of course.
Um, and she has a great role model. I
Thank
was
you.
really excited and impressed, you're welcome, when I learned that Gracelyn is the voice of Gray in the audiobook version of Goodbye for Now.
Yes. You know, she
Wow.
she is so shy and
Is she
so
really?
she really well, she is in a big crowd. At home, there is nothing she can do.
Of course. Superhero.
I honestly wasn't sure that she was going to say, those few lines, and she did such an adorable job.
That's oh, wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah, we
That
put
what
her
an
in
experience for both of you.
exactly. We put her in the studio at SI Live, and she just did an amazing job. I was so proud of her.
Wow, in a studio and everything. That's awesome. I love it. What a story. So, as both mother and a veterinarian, Lindsay, how has writing
Yep.
this book impacted your perspective on grief, discussing grief and loss with children? How has it helped you?
Yeah, so the thing that's really nice, and I think that's helped me a bunch, is that I have a resource that I could give to a family right on the spot. I keep
Yeah.
copies in my truck, and that way, God forbid, I'm stuck in a situation that, it's a sad day at work and there's a child
Mhm.
involved. I could just give it to the family and say, I hope this helps you. And it just
Yeah, that's
brings so much happiness to my heart.
absolutely. And credibility and you have so much information to back up because when they're there I'm sure they're in shock and
Yeah.
the trip from your office to the car, that's a real long trip. And
Yes.
they probably have forgotten everything that's happened, but they can take goodbye for now home and
Yep.
really talk about it and dissect the whole process.
Yeah.
So your debut children's book, Good Morning Big Apple.
Yep.
um I love the book. It was great. As a New
Thank
Yorker, it
you.
really did touch my heart. The illustration, same illustrator, so it's so fantastic.
Yes.
And your goal was to inspire and empower women to breathe. Tell us a little bit about your inspiration for that and what you're hoping Good Morning
Yeah.
Big Apple will help families with or women.
Absolutely. So, I definitely reached out to a lot of different companies when I first wrote it, like Pottery Barn, like the biggest place that, we go as women to get all the things that we need for our
Yes,
newborn baby.
yes.
And, it's definitely a challenge for sure. So, getting the word out is tough, but I think it's such an amazing book that it just needs to catch on and it'll just go from there. But my inspiration was my own journey through the postpartum period.
Mhm. Yeah,
Being an ER vet and always on the move, and then being at home and just there's nothing to do but be with you and, your little one. It's an
yeah,
incredible journey, but it's also a tough one, and
yes,
they don't prepare you for that. They don't explain, hey, every single day is going to be a new challenge. It's definitely going to be something different that you've never done before. You're going to have to figure out how to be a new mom, a brand new
yeah,
mom. And maybe a lot of those days are just you and baby, and you don't have that village to help you,
yeah,
so I think mentally it could be very taxing at times. And having, friends, family, an adult to talk to during the day is so
yeah.
nice to have a
It
little
is
bit of
nice.
conversation. Um, but then also in the same respect, then going back to work is also so difficult,
Yeah,
leaving that
like
little
you're
one that you've
doing
been
nothing.
with.
Yeah,
Exactly. So
yeah.
I just wanted to be like a soundboard or some kind of support for other moms that, felt the same.
So Graceland was an inspiration also for Good Morning Big Apple.
1,000,000%. Yep.
Yeah, it's such a cute story. Can you share it with us, Lindsay, what you used to do with Graceland when she was really tiny?
Yeah, of course. So I'm huge on teaching. That's what I do at work too. I teach a bunch of baby doctors as well. So, every morning when we'd get up and I took her out of her crib, we would go through anything and everything she saw. So I would say, good morning, grass, good morning, flag, because there's a flag outside across the street, good morning, birds, good morning, sky, just so that, she hears all of these words and she can interact.
Yeah.
And she would have the biggest smile on her face, which
Oh,
was incredible. So I was like, you know what, that might be tough to translate into a book. So let me make it a little bit more fun. And because I'm from New York, I was like, let's just throw it into the city. That'll be a fun little adventure together. She was also born in 2020 and couldn't really do much at that
yeah,
point in time. Everything was so closed down. So that was a huge inspiration for the book too. Just being able to get out and do little things, anything, go for a walk, go outside and take a little adventure and teach them about, the trees, the different leaves, anything that's new to them.
Well, they're both fantastic books. You're really creating a legacy for your daughter. What
Thank
what's your
you.
what's your secret? You're a successful doctor, you're a mother. How do you balance it all, Lynsey? How do you do it?
You know, I thought I didn't have much time before having a little one, and now you just find all the time because you realize there's never going to be enough time. You have to
Yeah,
make the time, you
you
know?
have to make time for
So I
sure.
always say there's so many speakers that talk about grit and persistence, and it's so true. It's incredibly true because without those two qualities, you would never finish a project, you know?
Grit and persistence. So what's your life mantra? Do you have one?
Not one in particular, but I'm always inspired by all of these inspirational, quotes online just about the fact of being a powerful, independent, woman, just always moving forward no matter what hurdle. I just, that's been most of my life.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would ever change it because it made me the person I am today.
Well, you're a great role model for your daughter and also
Thank
for
you.
young little folks who are reading the book Goodbye Now and Good Morning Big Apple. What is the message that you hope that children and their families take away when they read Goodbye for Now?
Yeah, so I think I would just say that I want that message to just be, we're not alone. There is something out there. The veterinary field is also my family. They're not someone that, may just be like, it's not a business. It,
Yeah.
it is a business, but it's medicine, and medicine is so different. We realize that there's finances that play a role, but they have to understand we put like our blood, sweat, and tears into every case that we
Yeah.
see, and we're always there for them no matter what.
Well, I'm sure you'll inspire some young ladies and some young men also to become veterinarians.
Absolutely. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love teaching they call them nerds where I work, new ER doctors. Um, but I absolutely love teaching them and I love inspiring them every day.
So what's next? I know that you must have plans because you seem to be on a roll to write more children's books or explore other topics related to maybe your career as a veterinarian or your life with Graceland. What's on the books?
Yeah, so I just wrote a chapter in The Unstoppable Woman, Rise of the Phoenix with She Rise Studios. They sent me an invite and I was like, you know what? I think that'd be fun. It would be a little challenge because I just keep writing children's books. Let me try to write a chapter.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah.
And when
So
what date is that?
that should be out in October. So right when
Oh,
my new hospital opens. So that'll be a ton of fun.
oh, that's great. Well, you have to keep in touch with us and let us know how all of that goes. Send us a book. We can't wait to see that. Where
Absolutely.
can folks purchase Goodbye for Now and definitely also Good Morning Big Apple? And also find out
Yeah.
more about
So
you. Great.
yeah, of course. So I do have a website. It's littlegraysbooks.com. So you can find all the information, any events that we're doing. Events are usually just readings. They might be at Barnes and Noble or a local bookstore.
Yeah, the
So I did
website
a
is
lot
great.
of those. Thank you. I did a lot for Good Morning Big Apple, but obviously it's a little tough to read Goodbye for Now in front of a crowd without
Yeah,
crying.
yeah.
Um, but the hardcover for Goodbye for Now in English is on Etsy. So the soft cover in English and Spanish are both on Amazon. And then so is the audiobook as well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, oh, the audiobook. Yes, where folks you
Thank
can
you.
hear Graceland's little voice. That is so wonderful and so exciting. Can't wait to
Same.
see your work. And this has been so much fun, Lynsey. It's a pleasure meeting
Thank you.
you. And congratulations on your new
Yes,
position
I
as can't
can't wait to see you
director.
guys on May
I'm sure
3rd.
a lot more incredible things to come.
Yes. Yep, absolutely.
Yes. Oh, we're going to see you at book camp. Fantastic. Oh, I can't wait to. That's wonderful. Well, thank you again for joining us. We'll see you in May. Next episode, we'll meet Ruth Krendler, author of The Fight for Justice, Lee Krendler and Lockerbie. This is your hostess, Gabby Olzak of the Gab Talks. Until next time, keep on reading.